Hey, everybody. Happy Friday night. Happy Friday, and welcome to a culture conversation with Christal. Of course, I'm your host, Christal, and this is a culture conversation before our usually scheduled relationship recap. And tonight, I'm going to have an amazing conversation. I can't wait for you guys to get a little bit of it. But just to give you a tip on who our guest is tonight, I'm going to play a little teaser from this current season, and then we are going to get into the conversation with our guests.
Been doing in seventh grade.
You want me to be a certain way. You want Trey to be a certain way.
Everything that I'm doing is for this family.
All right. Everything they're doing is for this family. Please help me welcome Anthony Thompson from Love and Marriage Detroit. What up, though, Anthony?
What up, though? How are you feeling today?
I am good. Can I tell you, I am so glad
me?
that we are finally getting a chance to actually talk on here. We actually are friends in real life. So
yeah,
I know you for years, like what, 6, 7? It's been quite a few years.
It's close to the 10 piece.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I
Yeah.
don't want to date us like that, but yeah, I actually got to know you when you were here in Atlanta, working in the music industry, of course. And so it's crazy because a couple seasons ago, I was like, is that Anthony? It's I Love and Marriage Detroit, and I think I reached out and said congratulations.
Yeah.
And it was good to see you. But yeah, so I starting this out by saying I do understand how everything goes, but it was still good to see somebody that I respect and have a lot of love for, to actually be on, getting their chance to share in a positive way, for the most part. So again, congratulations on you and your beautiful wife and your family, being a part of OWN's network.
I appreciate that, and it's been a wonderful experience.
Well, it definitely, first of all, I want to say I was surprised to see you, because when we think of Love and Marriage, we think of Love and Marriage Huntsville, right? And so Love and Marriage Huntsville, by the time Love and Marriage Detroit premiered, by the time Carlos introduced that series, first of all, I'm from Toledo, which is
right next door to us.
Right next door. So I was like, I don't know how this is going to be, if it's going to be, if they're going to have the drama, because I know Detroit, it's just a different level. But I will say, and I wonder if you think that, I think Love and Marriage Detroit is totally different than Love and Marriage Huntsville, except for the fact that, we start with 3, anchor couples, married couples. I think that's the only thing that really makes it the same. Had you seen Love and Marriage Huntsville, and what were your thoughts when you were approached with the opportunity?
I had not seen Love and Marriage Huntsville. In fact, I knew about it because you know how we are in Atlanta, where we move around. I actually had a friend of mine that was working production for Love and Marriage Huntsville.
Okay.
And when I was in Atlanta, we were actually going to pitch shows together when I was at Disney Marvel Studios.
Okay.
And they said, hey, when I was going back to Detroit, because I was going through some things, me and a wife, and I was heading back to Detroit, they were saying, hey, you should look at possibly, would you ever do to reality TV? I didn't even really know what it was, the show was, but I knew about Carlos. I didn't know the name of the show, but I knew that a friend of mine worked on that show.
Okay.
And, that was pretty much it. But I knew Carlos I knew he's from Detroit, and I knew that he worked with the Atlanta show. Which one with that Candy and them is on?
Housewives, Real Housewives.
Housewives. So I knew he was doing this thing with that. And us from Detroit, we behind the scenes in a lot of different places in the industry. So I was like, okay, he's from Detroit. That's what made me interested, really, is the fact that he was from Detroit.
Right. That makes sense.
And then when I came home, Brandon came by my studio. Because we used to go by, he came on my studio. He was like, hey, man, I know you heard about this. I was like, yeah, a friend of mine worked behind the scenes on it, whatever. And he's like, so what you going to do? Would you do it? I said, I'm going to talk to the wife about it. We actually was thinking the show was a lot different than what it was, but it's fine. You know how God do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that, and I think, you can't, for the audience to stay connected, it's got to be a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So you and your wife, there you guys are, your promo pic, you and the beautiful wife Latoya decided to join the show. Now, like I said, I was surprised because, number one, you know, knowing you and talking to you, and we had conversations about the industry and just, you know, life, I know that you're not necessarily someone that shares their business, like, you know, is more of a private person.
I'm a
So
behind the scenes guy.
yeah,
Always have been.
so what was that? What did you and Latoya decide? What made you guys decide to take this chance and take this journey on going ahead and doing the show?
Well, it was almost like, I feel like it was an alley oop from God. And
Mm-hmm.
the reason I say that is I was, you know, for years, many years, I've been going back and forth between Detroit and Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, this time, I had a place there, and I was there for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at Disney Marvel Studios. It wasn't just me going back and forth for music and Live Nation anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And when the decision came across that, you know, I needed to come back home more permanently and not go back and forth, it was like, okay, like, look, I gave something major up, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
so I need you to do this so that I can, because I've been trying to figure out how to not just do music,
Yeah.
just being in music, but also move into the TV film industry as well. And, you know, we've talked about that as
Mm-hmm.
you've done the same.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, when I remember when you were here, we were actually, you know, just talking, trying to get into that. And I'm, you know, a writer, and I remember, you know, you were working on some opportunities behind the scenes.
Yep.
But you know, I remember that production and working on like people, helping people that were doing movies and stuff like that.
Yep.
So that's why I was like, wow, okay. Sometimes you never know how God is going to open a door, you know.
Exactly.
So that's another thing that I actually like a lot about this show. It feels very different. Is there seems to be a underlying theme of God being involved in, you know, that's a very present conversation that the men have amongst themselves, that the couples have. Their faith is a very, very strong part of this show, not just for one couple, but actually for most of the couples. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wonder, is that something that was important to you? Because I think the fact that you guys talk about it, you talk amongst, when you know, one of my co-hosts on one of the shows I do, Mo, says, you know, when men talk amongst men, things can be different. But
Mm-hmm.
hearing when you all talk, you know, the faith and your commitment to family is always very present, you know, in those conversations. So is that something that was important to you as well?
Absolutely. That's the foundation of our relationships. I believe personally, I've known a lot of these guys for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that most of the guys on the show, if not all, foundation is pretty solid with God. They have some sort of relationship. Some guys, our relationships might be a little deeper,
Mm-hmm.
but I know for a fact that everybody has a relationship and everybody seeks God in some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And the women are definitely on fire for God. Like, all of them on the show, the three leading ladies are all PKs. They all
Mm-hmm.
grew
Yeah.
up PKs.
Yeah.
So, and then the new couples, they have relationships too, but it's just ironic that all of us, the three lead off couples, we all married PKs. And
Mm-hmm.
it was not by like intention. We all kind of was like, wow, we all are guys that come from the neighborhood, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then very strong. I mean, I would say specifically, you know, you and Russell really, really, you know, talk about your faith a lot, and even decisions that you are making. Brandon, you know, as well, but not to the same level. I mean, you really see Russell is on fire, and just
Mm-hmm.
it really came on, and you as well. You know, even the conversations that you had with your father-in-law last season and all that. So I think that stands out to me and makes this series a little different. But even still, even with God being a factor and faith being a priority, there's
Real conversations.
it's just real life
Real.
continues to happen. So I want to talk a little bit about the relationships. Well, let's talk about the marriages first, because the show is, of course, based on um, love and marriage, right? And
Yes.
so you and your wife have been married for 14 years. Like you mentioned, she is a daughter of a pastor, which we got a chance to meet her dad on the show last season, and just see some really touching scenes between the two of you. And you know,
Mm-hmm.
wanting his approval and his stamp on what you guys were doing that was really admirable. Kudos to you on that, because I thought that was really powerful and great for people
We're
to.
very close. I don't think people really recognize how close my wife is to my family and I am to her. Like, we consider each other like, she calls my mom, and then she look at her and asks for advice like that's her mother.
Yeah,
Her
yeah,
parents are my parents. Like, it's
right,
not like in-laws.
right. But that's
Yeah,
how it's supposed to be, right?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
really how it's supposed to be. I don't think we see that a lot, but I think that's how it's really supposed to be. You guys have two sons,
Yes.
as well, and we get a chance to see,
And a
uh,
daughter.
and a daughter, but we get to see the interaction between the
Yeah.
children. We saw last season, like, you wanted to make sure that just doing family stuff, right?
Hmm.
So let's talk about you guys being married. First of all, for 14 years is huge.
16 now.
60, because that was the info for last season.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
16 years of marriage. First of all, can you give us some pointers? I am working on a cool 4, right? So I had to start
Yeah.
over. I had to
I
start
was
at
so
0.
happy for you when I saw that.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Yes.
think you did reach out, and I appreciate
Yeah.
that and said congratulations. Because when you were here, I really had probably given up on finding true love. And when it happened, I
Because
was
you
just
were a workaholic. How
I
could you? You and TLC was running this country.
am still running, but I'm learning to slow down. But yes,
Yeah.
learning to slow down. But what advice can you give for people? Because, regardless of what you go through in marriage, the continuity and the longevity and being able to say, I've stuck it out for 16 years and still be in love with your wife, still make
Mhm.
that, you could still see that both of you guys make the marriage a priority. What are some things that you've learned over the last 16 years that you could share with our audience?
One thing I've learned is giving each other the space to grow. Because
Mhm.
we met when we were 18 years old at Michigan State University.
Wow.
So I'm not the same guy I was as a teenager. I'm not the same guy I was when I was 20. I'm not the same guy I was when I was 33.
Mhm.
So you have to give each other room to grow and grow together. And you got to go on that journey together.
Mhm.
And one thing I know is consistency. Like, my wife is going to see me continuously work to protect and love our family, and to love and protect her, and
Mhm.
also to listen. And because guys and women and men process things differently. So
Yes.
I've learned to, like, listen, be quiet, pray, and then say, okay, how do I have to ask her, like, this is what I'm hearing you say, is this
Mhm.
what you mean? I've
Mhm.
learned that it took about 10 years to figure that part out. It took about 10 years to be like, okay, this is what you're saying, but is this what you mean? Because
Yeah.
that's what I found the difference was. I hear things a lot different than she hear things.
I think that is true for, like you said, men and women.
Hmm.
We process things totally different. I interviewed Brandon and Christina
Hmm.
a couple of weeks ago, and Brandon said something that I thought was really interesting, and I wanted to ask your opinion on it, because you
Okay.
guys did get married young. And he said when he got married, he was not prepared. He might have wanted to and thought
Hmm.
the idea was great, but he wasn't really prepared to be a leader, because there's a lot that comes with that head of household title.
Hmm.
And he, at the time, he didn't really understand all that entailed. And
Hmm.
I think we hear that with men a lot. Oh, well, he's the head of the household. But can you explain kind of what that feels like, and does that ever become overwhelming for you?
See, I think it's different levels to it. For one, their situation a lot different. They didn't get to spend a lot of time together.
Yeah.
I don't know if they went through counseling. Like, we went through, because we dated a couple years before we actually got married, and we were friends before we ever even dated.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like, we knew each other. Like, I never thought we were gonna date. She never
Hmm.
thought we were gonna date. Like, we were truly friends. Like, she know things about me that your friend know, that you
Okay.
don't, that your girl you date don't really know when you meet her.
Gotcha.
So we went through different phases, and I think because we went through counseling, and we
Hmm.
were at both at a certain, we were seeking God. Like, you know, that was on the forefront of our relationship.
Hmm.
Was because we were at a certain place in our lives in college when we met, and we were both seeking God strongly. So I just think that the way we came into the marriage was we wanted to be married. We had a clear vision and understood where we wanted to go together, and we just supported each other. And I just think it's just levels of as you growing together. But I think when you say head of household, that's another conversation, because the question is, what are the clear goals? And I think a lot of time guys get caught up on being a leader, because like if you think about it, God created the woman out of your womb, like out of, if you want to say the rib, she's a woman. And so she was created out of your side. Y'all walk side by side, not behind you, not in front of you. Because your wife, she can see things at times you can't see, and sometimes guys see things that So
Yeah.
God knew we need a helpmate so that we can walk this thing out together. And I think that people get caught up on who is leading the household. Is more about, let's play to the strengths of the family.
There
You
you go.
like, I have certain strengths, she has certain strengths, and then let's be a dominant force by, let's play to the strengths of the family. So it's certain things that I lead in, it's certain things she might lead in, but she still says, because of our faith, that I'm the head of the household, but I do seek counsel, not just from my wife, but from God and from our leadership.
There you go. See, I am enjoying this already. If you are just joining, we are talking with Anthony Thompson the second. He is one of the stars of Love and Marriage Detroit. And we're just talking about the dynamics of family and dynamics of marriage, actually, right now. Let me ask you this, because you mentioned that your wife, definitely much different dynamic than Brandon and Christina, that didn't meet, that they were dating, they were seeing each other online and talking long distance, and then just decided to jump into marriage. And there was a lot that they both didn't know. Brandon said he saw that picture on Twitter and he was like, I want her.
He want her. Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted her. She's beautiful. I will say Detroit has one of the most beautiful casts on reality TV. Like, everybody is a very good looking cast. Let's talk about you and Latoya. So you guys were friends for time period, and it was truly friends. What was it that tipped the scale and made you start to look at her differently and change the dynamic of that relationship?
I'm gonna let people know a few things. That in college we were friends, and I would just got out of the relationship. That a woman that I really cared for, I thought like, oh, I'm gonna marry this girl. Like, I thought she was it. And I said to God, God, I'm tired of the way things are going, because I'm a relationship type guy. And I was like, the next woman I'm with, I want to be my wife. And so I went on a fast. I was practicing. I was abstinent. I was like, all right, this relationship, I'm gonna be abstinent. I'm gonna try something different. And then we were just hanging out all the time. And because she's already there. I'm trying to get there. And God just started revealing things. My parents, her parents, like, why y'all not dating? Because we hung out like, y'all, we just friends. I didn't want to, and I kind of felt God tell me, but you know how like somebody's so close to you, I didn't want to mess it up, because I'm a Detroit dude from Joy Roll. I'm like, I don't want to lose my friend. I don't want to mess this up. So it was kind of like, at first I didn't want to do it. Then I was like, no, she really dope. She was always fine and pretty. And so we, I said, we kind of said, she's like, what you doing? Like, what's up? Like, what are you trying to do now? And I'm like, hey, we started dating. And then it was just like, it didn't take long. I was like, this it right here.
Nice.
It was clear.
Yeah. Nice. So that process for you guys was different with the start, but what are some of the things that you did encounter once you guys were married? Because going from being friends, it's a different energy. What I was telling a friend of mine, like, what is required to be my friend is so different than what's required to be my man. So I have a lot of friends that I'm like, I would never be with them outside of friendship, because I would expect something totally different. So how did that dynamic change once you guys became husband and wife?
See, it was a few things. Number one is, and y'all saw a little bit of it on the show, was my career, because I was working in entertainment before I was with her. I started a major job in entertainment in college. So it was the hours that I kept. We didn't have children yet, but I traveled. I was out late. It's certain things that, people calling me at, our phones ring 24 hours.
Yeah.
And now it's like, it's changing. Like, what you mean schedule a meeting? Like, you used to call me, I just pull up or whatever. So now I start having to hey, I'm going here. What time will you be home? That thing, I was like, what time I'll be home when I get home? So that had to change, and I started had to have, change my lifestyle,
Yeah.
So that's what was different because like it's not easy dating somebody in the entertainment industry because
Mm-mm.
the type of hours that we keep and the type of so once I started moving more corporate
Mm-hmm.
um
Yeah.
industry, things started getting shaped because I didn't want to do that. I loved working for the record labels. I
Mhm.
loved the big concert shows going on the road. So like probably by year 3 of our marriage, I stopped touring. I stopped hitting the road. She tried to go along sometime, but it was just she was still in school because she was
Yeah.
getting her doctorate. And
Mhm.
so it's just like decisions had to be made and changes had to be made. So that's why I left the record labels at Capitol and went to Live Nation because it was more corporate style and it was
Mhm.
more work hours, even though you had to cover shows.
Yeah. Let me take a little bit of a pivot just because I think this is important to talk about right now. I've struggled with this. Faith is very important to me. And at the time I met you, my roster was, I was working with a lot of different clients. I actually
Yeah.
represented Kalina with Dirty Money. I did
Hmm.
media training for the cast of Making the Band. And I was in the industry in a much more visible way than I am now. And one of the things that I definitely struggle with was the industry. There's a culture of the industry that did not necessarily gel with my faith. And I think that
Hmm.
obviously the outside world is kind of becoming aware of some of those things with everything happening with Diddy. But there's a lot of that we already knew was going
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
So how do you, as a man, like, how did you deal with it? Because my experience as a woman is probably totally different. I was trying to like
Hmm.
avoid situations that would be that would put me,
Detrimental to your career.
yeah, or just detrimental to my
Yeah.
soul. And
Yes,
but
absolutely.
it also, I think, hampered. I can admit that sometimes me not being with it hampered how far I could go. So how
Absolutely.
did you navigate that? And did you ever come into situations where you felt like I'm gonna have to make a decision between my faith or my success?
Absolutely. Actually, it's been times I lost a lot of money because of that.
Yeah.
Because of me picking God over, you know, being okay with certain things. It's been times that I've had to even stop some situations and check some artists and say, no, that ain't going down on my watch. You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, it's a lot of things. It's been times where even as that people think that just the women get hit on. It's been times where executives and made some women have made some passes because they don't get when you spend a lot of time together and they don't get to really get out and get around. They're like, hey, you're convenient,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I can help your career go to the next level, but I never compromised.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I never did. And it's a tough that's like in any industry though. It's
Yeah.
tough businesses. And then one thing is what God did afford me was I'm not gonna name the artist, but it's been moments too because of my consistency and me living out my faith that they trusted me and I've had an opportunity to talk to, pray with,
Mm-hmm.
counsel, and help marriages and things behind the scenes
Nice.
that God has, used me to do those things. And to
Mm-hmm.
this day, relationships are strong and people respect that I don't cross that line.
Mm-hmm. That's funny because I learned that like a lot of times I might not have been asked to come back or go on tour with an artist to do
Yep.
this, but I noticed that later they have a level of respect for you because they know
Yep.
you don't do that. And it's just interesting. And I'm kind of understanding over the last few years, even before all this has come out, I started kind of understanding that a lot of times I wasn't in those spaces or stuff didn't work out and it was to my benefit. Like it was
God was protecting you.
God's protection, man's rejection, God's protection
Yeah.
specifically. And I guess for me, I definitely know that all industries have their issues.
Hmm.
But from what I experienced living in Atlanta and working a lot in New York and LA, a lot of entertainment in the entertainment industry is magnified
Yeah.
because it is what sets the cool, what sets the
Hmm.
tone. Other people are trying to emulate and they're trying to get to that point. And so when you're at a party and these are the people that everybody is worshiping and thinks are,
Hmm.
just the epitome of where they want to be, the pressure to compromise is a lot higher than I think it was when I
But
worked at the hospital.
and I'm gonna say this too. I thank God that we have a heart for the people,
Yeah,
because it's a lot of people broken in our industry,
very much.
and being able to talk and pray with them, and just be there for them, I think
Mhm.
that's a big deal too, because it's a lot of broken people in the industry that are really scared and don't want to live a certain way, but they
Mhm.
feel that this is the only way that they can survive.
That's true. Very true.
So
That's very
I'm
true.
thankful to God that he even trusted me to be in this industry.
That is true. I was talking to Chili yesterday, and
Mhm. Love
she
her.
we went to go see this City of Dreams, and we always go see like Christian movies together. That's
Mhm.
one of our things that we do. And I just, I'm proud of her because she has consistently used her platform
Yes.
to let other people know that there's someone that believes in God, and and I've seen her pray for people in her industry, reach out to them, when they are going through something, or they know that she's not going to come to the party or drink and smoke with you, but she is there. And I've seen her be able to have so much influence, so I'm just really proud of her, because to use that platform at that level to talk
Mhm.
about God is not something that's
Because she's an
always.
icon.
She's
Let's be
she's
clear.
definitely an icon.
Let's be clear.
Yes, I
And
tell her like we cool, but I don't
yeah,
forget that she's a whole legend, that she
yeah,
just, but she gives the glory to God, and I
yeah.
think in this industry, like you said, that's so needed. But I just wanted to ask you your opinion on that, specifically because of all this happening. What thoughts do you have? Any thoughts about just seeing the downfall of Diddy, and knowing, just, I don't think there's anyone in entertainment, specifically Black entertainment, but I would almost say like music and entertainment period, that his reach has not touched, because he was movies, acting,
Mhm.
spirits, lifestyle, like it's just, the brand is huge. And to see the way that this is falling out now, do you have any thoughts just on watching it as a Black man, watching this happen to someone that is considered an icon as well?
Yeah, he is. I mean, flat out, he is an icon. Just like R. Kelly's an icon, no matter what.
Yeah.
Their music and their skills transcended, generations. And one thing I'll say is, when it comes to Diddy, we know him as Puff. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I do believe, even though what he's going through, that he was trying to get to God. I do believe that. I know the criticism, because if you look in the word, you'll see some people did some horrific things, and then they came to God and became some of God's biggest champions.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Paul,
try my
David,
best. Paul chopping people heads off, you know,
murdering Christians. Yeah.
murdering Christians. And so I'm very careful about any person, because God, redemption is real.
Yeah.
Redemption is real. And some of the things that we saw with the video with Cassie, it was heartbreaking, because, like, I have a daughter, I have a wife, I have a mother, and we're human. And to see anybody that is hurt on that level, or even battered, I felt hurt. I felt it. It hurt my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Then I also thought about who his father is. His father, what his father did, and some of the things that his father probably did in his life, and things that was passed down. And I know a lot of the people around him,
Mm-hmm.
on the executive level, and I just pray to God that they be okay. I pray that whatever path God has him to go on, and he has to walk through, that God get him to where he wants him to be.
Mm-hmm.
And my heart goes out to his kids and his family, and also to any victims' families.
Yeah.
It's hard to be the victim and then forgive and to pray for others. It's very difficult to do that. And I
Mm-hmm.
just pray that everybody that is involved is healed through the situation.
Yeah.
Because one thing is we want to do is we want to make sure that God's purpose and plan, that happens.
Right.
And I just pray that everybody heals.
Yeah, that's so true. The Bible says the sins of the father are visited upon the son, and so you're
Mhm.
right. The first thing I think about when I hear of people doing horrible things, R. Kelly and people, like, is like, what happened to them? And then
Mhm.
where did that come from?
It's documented on R. Kelly what he went
Right,
through. It's
and the more
documented.
we learn, the more we understood, and God's grace is sufficient for all of us.
Yeah.
But it definitely, he has to handle it. But I think healing, for everybody is definitely definitely needed. That was beautifully said. So let's talk about the show. We talked a little bit about your marriage, and your family. Another big theme on the show is the sisterhood among the ladies and the brotherhood amongst the men, right? And so last season we saw that was really challenged, specifically with Brandon and yourself. And I was really happy to see the conversation that you and Brandon had on the last episode. Just the fact that you wanted to have a conversation with him, wanted to reach out. But Anthony, I will tell you, even more so than that is seeing the fact that even though you guys were not in a great place at the end of last season, I'm sure time has gone by, but to see the level of empathy and concern, it almost seemed like as soon as you heard something was going on with his marriage and he was separated, your heart was like, forget what we got going on. How can I help you? Let's pray. How can we get through this? Like, this is my brother. And I think that that's how we have to look at each other. That was just a beautiful display that felt very authentic of like, I don't care about our issues right now. I'm hurting to see him hurting. Can you talk a little bit about how you guys, have come to that place? And then of course, what we saw last season with the breakdown of you guys' relationship.
Well, honestly, with the breakdown of the relationship, I hit on that first, and then we'll transition. The breakdown of the relationship truly happened if you really pay attention to the story that what they showed. Myself and Bravo supported Brandon to the T. He was saying his wife was holding him back, and myself, I'm gonna talk about me. I was wrong because I over supported and I projected from my relationship because I would just walk through something with, I felt I was being held back to an extent, and I'm like, look, dog, don't go through what I went through. Like, you gotta like stick to your guns and kind of lay the plan out and say, hey, baby, this is the route we going. And I overstepped because you know how it is when you hear one side and you hear your boy, I use the expression, he was Cry Me a River, Justin Timberlake, and I kind of like went at Christina because at the end of the day, like, I know on TV it might look different, but we all knew each other and we talk, how like when you cool with people, we talk like you at the house,
right. Right.
We say stuff to each other. And so, but I was wrong. I was over supportive and I overstepped. I did do that.
Let me ask you this before you stay in that line, because your situation was very different. Even though I understand why you would see it that way, when you saw his interaction with the artist, where he was being inappropriate, how did you feel did you know that was happening, or did you have to watch it? And how did that make you feel about that situation then?
Well, I absolutely didn't know that was what was going on with the artist. I had never even heard Brandon talk to Christina in that manner, to be honest with you. He's usually a respectful guy. Like, I mean, he's not some of the way that some of this stuff, I'm not gonna say what stuff that was cut, but I'm gonna say some, how you people, but you don't know everything about somebody. I had never heard him talk to her even slightly that way because Christina is a tough person. Like, I couldn't even imagine her letting him talk like that. You get what I'm saying? These sisters on this show are strong Black women. These aren't no pushover women. So the artist to me really wasn't that good. So I don't really think it was like, like, why are you even going this hard for this artist? Like, I don't see the this connecting.
Right.
I always felt like the star was right at home next to you. That's who you should have poured into. So the breakdown, like I said, the breakdown of our relationship was overstepping, and then he went from going at Christina to going at Kobe and Russell, and then he came over here. And then when he came over here, me, it ain't stopped. I said, oh, that's what we doing? Oh, let's go. That's just where I was at.
Yeah. So when you guys with it ended last year with it wasn't in a bad place, but it definitely wasn't in a place of like healed brotherhood. So when we saw you actually invite him to the men's meeting, well, to come to meet you after the men's meeting. Did you have any idea that there might have been more? Because even outside of that, it seemed like Brandon has a lot of pain, a lot of issues, even family wise, and just with himself that probably are causing some of that conflict,
It
right?
gave me some insight. That's what made me lighten up on them. They gave me some insight because even the dynamic with him and his mother,
Mm-hmm.
I think is interesting because like what a black mother and a black son is totally different. We love your mama could be a crackhead. You gonna love your mama no matter what. You gonna hold your mama down.
Yeah.
I mean, for real, mama can't do no wrong.
Right.
You know, and then to see a Caucasian mother, white mother interact with a biracial son, it's a different dynamic.
It is.
And I don't have I've not seen that before up
Mm-hmm.
close.
Mm-hmm.
So I could imagine because he had a regular black dad, like he had a black dad. So
his dad wasn't. Yeah.
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 So so like it's probably some emotional stuff that's there or not knowing how to express those things and they can spill over into other relationships because our relationship was strictly through the studios. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like and let me clear this up too. As grown men, no grown men hang out every day.
Right.
Period. I
Facts.
got friends that I might see once every 6 months and he's
Right.
still my boy.
Right.
So
Right.
I felt that was disrespectful too when he would say like, "Man, we was cool, but ain't like we hung out every day." I don't know where you come from, but where I come from,
I got a
dudes don't
wife,
hang out like
kids.
that every day.
Yeah, we got kids. I got stuff to do.
We
I
got
got
families.
responsibilities.
Like I got real job and businesses. Like I can't
Right.
hang out with you every day.
Right. 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 So when you did hear, because obviously you guys knew the marriage was in a bad place, but
Yeah.
hearing that, talk to me about how you felt when you heard that they were actually separated and living in separate locations, because that really it seemed to really affect you to see that the marriage had really gotten to a place that could potentially lead to divorce.
Well, I believe in marriage. I believe the sanctity of marriage that God created between a man and a woman. And marriage is a symbol. God smiles upon marriage. He loves strong families built.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't just think about him and Christina. I thought about them two little girls,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, I want y'all to be okay, and I pray God bring healing to this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But also, you have to make a decision.
Yeah.
You got to man up. You can't cry about it. You got to make a decision. Like I had to make a decision. Like, look, I'm in Atlanta right now. Yes, I'm at a dream situation. 8 months in at Disney Marvel Studios. I don't want to leave these $150 million sets.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to make a decision. Am I going to choose my career or am I going to choose my wife?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even a family because the kids was like, you know how it is, dead, whatever you. What am I choosing? I chose my wife. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I chose. So he just got to choose his wife. He got to make a decision and choose your wife. If that's where your heart is and that's what you want to do.
Yeah, if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be interested to see how that plays out this season. I wanted to talk to you about what motivated you to create this this men's group and membership, and to have you did an event last season. This season we see you moving forward with the men's movement. We talk a lot about brotherhood and how it's important for men to have, just like women, we know that there's a strong sisterhood. Black women are going to stand behind each other at
Oh,
all.
y'all doing it, especially y'all sorority sisters, because I know you one of them. Y'all be doing it.
So tell me what motivated you to create the walk that you guys did last season, and to see that there was a need for a space for men to connect with each other.
Well, one thing I'll say is with the man's movement, it was a collective group. What happens is I already had a nonprofit that's been going on for 9 years now, Entertainment
Mhm.
University. So we service 700 kids 5 days a week, and we teaching the kids music, film, TV, fashion. We in the school systems.
Mhm.
So the man's movement, we are partnered with like Detroit Change Initiative, Seed Foundation, different organizations to where we bring the community together, and we do a lot of feeding programs. We do a lot of stuff about health information. We do a lot of things about voting rights and
Mhm.
get people registered to vote. So we touch on a lot of different topics, and we use the man's movement just to bring the guys together, get more information to Black men. actually, when y'all saw that, the actual event was canceled.
Mm,
It was actually canceled. And then I went up there because a lot of people, I don't know if they got the word, because the vendors weren't coming. Because if you'd have saw, we started super late because it was thunderstorming. You said it was
mm,
all coming in, so we canceled it. But people were still coming up there. We was turning people away. So like y'all really caught. I know how TV is. Y'all really caught me telling everybody we not doing anything. I still talked to the people that were there
mm-hmm,
because a lot of people came,
mm-hmm,
and then that's just what it was. And
mm-hmm.
then, like, if anybody that is an organizer, how many events do you have that's canceled because of weather? How many events do you have that you have a 500 turnout, a 5,000 turnout, and sometimes might be a 50 person turnout? If
Exactly.
you really know about being an organizer, you would know
Mm,
that, or
yeah,
working a nonprofit. Period.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
to me, it's still a success because
No,
at the end of the day,
absolutely.
we win every time.
And the heart and initiative
Yeah,
behind it.
yeah.
I want you to talk about just how important is it for, I understand definitely all the career things, right? The networking
Hmm.
opportunities and all of that. But how important is it for just the conversations that you guys have on the show? I think we get a chance to see brotherhood in a very different way. The
Oh yeah.
conversations that you have with Russell, the conversations that all the men on this show definitely look out for each other in a very different way than we often see Black men able to express on television, even though it's through the lens of production and
Hmm.
for hype. But talk about how important it is as a Black man to have other Black men that are holding you accountable, holding you down, supporting you. Why is that important in your mind?
I think it's very much needed, especially when you have healthy relationships. I have a strong core of guys around me, my father-in-law included,
Mhm,
relatives, friends that I've known that I've had since elementary school, and we're able to have those real conversations. Like even conversations now that's coming up when men need to get checked out for health screenings. Marital issues, even talking about dealing with taxes and faith.
mhm,
So with my friends, we have real conversations to where, we really hold each other down. It's easy for me and Russell to talk because we both know we're both very direct people.
mhm,
And then I know how to listen to him and he knows how to listen to me and then process and say, okay, when I talk with Brandon, it's a lot different because a lot of times it's the blame game, and
mhm,
and that's the issue that I've always had with him is about accountability, like not taking accountability with anyone. And
mhm.
it's not just me; it's
Right.
with me, the wife, the mother. I see a pattern.
Mhm,
So my thing now is like, okay, if you see in season 2, I'm not arguing with you again. You will never get an argument from me again. It's a waste of my time. So
mhm,
it's like once I understand who you are and I dissect it. In season 1, it was a lot of emotions for me.
mhm,
For me, because of what I just dealt with my career and my wife, what I dealt with the loss of my father, the disrespect it was towards my father, and those were the things that had me emotional, to
mhm,
be honest with you.
mhm,
Outside of that, if you want to go back and forth and be petty, at first I was like, okay, let's be petty. But then God checked me. He said, no, we're not doing that. And so
mhm,
that's why I checked it. And you'll see now, it's like, okay, I'm just going to be me. I'm not going to let this person bug me or be an irritant anymore because
mhm.
how significant are you really?
Yeah, to what you're supposed to be doing. Do you
Yeah.
think that is do you think that it's different? I've had conversation. I actually interviewed Tyrese a few weeks ago about his movie 1992 and the fact that a lot of times the experience that a Black man has in this country is very different than
Oh,
what other men experience. How important is it to have other Black men that understand your experience
hmm,
in a different way than someone else would? Because I think, as a person that believes in faith, I can have a great conversation with another woman of a different race or different cultural background. But there's still something that when a sister is across from me, there's just this unspoken connection that we have, based on our experience. What is
hmm,
that like for Black men? And do you feel like we hear, especially right now, we hear that men feel like they haven't been heard?
hmm,
Y'all are telling us everything right now. Men are talking at pay. We have never heard men talk as much as they are on social media right now. But
hmm.
how important is it to do you think it is to have other Black men that are of the same, that have familiar, like know you from, know that Anthony from, just Detroit Anthony, not the TV Anthony, like just
Mhm.
know you from back in the day, and have those men to bounce things off on if you're worried about something, if you're feeling insecure about something. Like, how important is that support, brother to brother?
I think all humans need it. Yeah, and it's a cultural thing. I think it's like even for black men, it depends on sometime the geographic. Of course, it's a lot easier to relate to someone that may have grew up in your city, went to this and it was in the same school system, had similar experience. Maybe they played ball, or maybe they were in DECA or something like that. Then you have a whole nother experience too, guys that come from the suburbs and they deal with things that we dealt with later. For me, I didn't experience racism until I got to college, because being in Detroit, it's an all black city. So
Mm-hmm.
going from elementary school through high school, it's a lot of things I never experienced until I got to college that I see, um, and I hear from other brothers that they have experienced.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole thing, I didn't experience too much of driving while black until I went to Michigan State University and started traveling all over the country. And then that experience changed for me. Then I have other guys that I've met that, man, I've been dealing with this since I was a little bitty kid. I grew up in the suburbs, a nice neighborhood, but I wasn't treated correctly. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
your parents drove a Benz, and you had a 3,000, 5,000 square foot house, but my little 350 square foot house, and my parents had a Honda. My experience was different, and I had joy. We played outside and had fun. They might have had to go to a camp. So it's so many different experiences for men across the board for different reasons. Like, even Brandon's experience is different, being biracial, growing up in this region. I'm learning things from him, from seeing that. And then also, growing up, I'm a city kid, and then talking to guys that didn't necessarily grow up in the city. Russell grew up in Chicago, in the city. So
Mm-hmm.
like, we have similar experiences and connect differently because we have similar backgrounds and seeing certain things, where
Mm-hmm.
others, we might not we might view life a little different. And then can we talk about the shades? I'm treated a little different. Even at the networks, let's keep it real.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon treated a little different than I'm treated, and let's be real about that.
Mm-hmm.
He might get a little bit more leniency, or what I'm saying. It's a
Mm-hmm.
little different with him.
Yeah.
So when I say something, they look like, and he says, "Oh, but is everything okay?" It's a little different, and
Right.
that's just reality.
Right. Right. That is true. And I think we think about it in terms of women.
Even in the public and on social media, I look at how people respond. They feel like they can come at me a lot different. I see, even though they might be coming for both of us, but
Mm-hmm.
it's different levels of it. And I'm not a person, my personality is, it don't even really affect me. I can care less, to be
Yeah.
real. I haven't been in the game too long. But it's differences on all levels.
Do you think that there is people feel like the darker skin is more, like, if you say something versus Brandon says something, that you come off as more aggressive, even if you're
Absolutely.
delivering it? Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's just be real about that. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I do appreciate about the show is with Russell being, because I'm a little taller than Russell.
Mm-hmm.
With Russell being the muscular guy
Yeah. Yeah.
and his dark skin, I'm so happy for him that he's not getting painted as a big, mean black gorilla or something. I'm actually happy about that,
Mm-hmm.
because I
Mm-hmm.
was because with us working behind the scenes, I know how pictures get painted.
Mm-hmm.
So on some things, my wife didn't like the fact that she's like, "Well, why don't you speak up on that, or why are you taking this?" I said, "I'd rather take that because I can handle it better than the rest of the cast." So some
Mm-hmm.
stuff I take on the chin because I can handle it a lot differently. I know what this is.
Mm-hmm. That's unfortunate that we all still have to deal with that, though. And
Hmm.
and and the crazy thing is, I believe it's more so from us, because I feel
Our
like
people.
we've been conditioned to think that way.
Hmm.
And I've talked to other men that have been like, people see me and they automatically assume, because if you're tall and not skinny and dark skinned, that I'm gonna be the mean gorilla
Yep.
type guy. And
Yep.
then the person that's more fair skinned, they were saying, what T.I. or Drake can get away with is very different than a 50 Cent.
Facts. 50 cannot do the stuff that Drake does. Absolutely not.
What do you think about, what would you say? Because like I said, you see all this social media conversation. I have a dating show on here. We talk about dating and relationships. You guys are actually in it. And I when I tell you, I don't like these early years of marriage. They suck, but it's the learning period. I feel like I had to start, how you playing the game. I feel like I was playing Monopoly and God was like, nope, go back to start. And I got to start all over again. But, I'm blessed and I'm thankful.
You are, because God taking y'all somewhere. Just stick it out. Just stay in there.
So yeah, absolutely. So thankful for that. But when you hear the social media conversation for men that are not married, specifically Black men that are in the dating world, and you hear the complaints and the accusations that they have that women don't take them seriously, women just want money. What do you want for Black men? Like, and when it comes to accountability and it just comes to manhood, what is Anthony's wish for other brothers that are out here?
I'm gonna say this. It's a lot harder for men and women to date today because social media was going on when I met my wife when we was in college, but we had Netflix and chill. I didn't have to go through what they're going through right now. Like, I can't even imagine having a date now. I would be lost. So my wife can't leave me because I don't know how to date. I done been with you too long. I don't even know how to date you. So I think it's on both sides. I think that the expectations are sometimes crazy. I really want to see our people, and I'm just say be flat out. I want to see Black love, and I want to see our people go back to building together. You don't have to meet somebody and they have it all figured out. You don't have to meet somebody and they making six figures, but on both sides. Y'all can get there together. And actually, marriage, when two people come together, God gonna bless that marriage. If y'all put God in it, in that 3-tier system, you gonna win. But I think the expectations from, you understand, advertising and marketing, like everywhere they look, you can go to the clothing store and you get advertisement around you. You go eat, you go everywhere, and everything is showing you this lifestyle that everybody got to have a Maybach. Everybody got to be in a 10,000 square foot house. Everybody got to wear Dior every day. And that's just not realistic. Let's just be real. It's not realistic. And you're going to kill yourself chasing something that's just not realistic. You have to have a strong foundation and build together. So one thing I'm always doing is talking to the young guys and talking to them about, setting goals and, not expecting, you got to give a woman room to grow, just like the women I give men room to grow. And then it's about conversations and sitting down and saying, okay, this is where I want to go, and find out where they want to go and say, all right, how do we get to this goal together? And really pulling things together. Because now I'm seeing, like, guys, like, don't count out guys, ladies. A guy can be a plumber, get an app, hire a few guys up under him as he get going. This guy could be a millionaire in like less than, because you got to think about it. If this man charges what, $100, right? And he hit 10,000 customers, or if that, no, because plumbers go, it might be $1,000. That bill $1,000 and he served 10,000 customers. How much money did he make, sisters? So you got to think. It ain't about the suit and tie all the time. Sometimes it's about, can we build this together, baby? So have goals. It's okay. People, stop. This is one thing I'll say about the sisters and the brothers. Stop quitting your job saying, I'm just going to be an entrepreneur and I'm just going to quit my job. No. You can work inside out. You can work a job, start the company, and just gradually build that company until just when you quit your job, when it's stopping you from making money, when you're making more money on that entrepreneur side than on this side, that's when you quit that job. So,
Anthony is dropping the gems, because I think there's this idea. First of all, people don't understand that. People like, well, I don't want to work for nobody. Oh, you're always going to work for somebody. Even if you have your own business, you're still working for somebody. Like, I had my own business, but guess what? I was working for Dr. Jackie. I was working for Lena. I was working for Chili and T-Boss. I still have somebody to answer to. And a lot of times people mistake that as an entrepreneur, that there's no one, because if you don't do a good job, you just don't eat. At a
Yep.
company, if you don't do a good job, you could get reprimanded. No, if I don't do a good job, I just don't get paid. I get fired from that position, that client. So there's no such thing as, not having.
This is something else I've been teaching my kids. There is entrepreneurship in having a job too.
Yeah. Speak on that.
It's so many ways to monetize. So don't think, we just got to open our minds and see all the glory God has out there for us. Because one thing He's gonna do is God's gonna provide if you seek it.
Absolutely.
If you trust Him and seek God, He's gonna provide.
I love that. Well, this has been so amazing talking to you. I'm so happy for you. When you come back to Atlanta, please let me know, because I definitely want to introduce you to the old man here. And
oh yes,
definitely gotta get with you and Latoya. But let people know what they can expect from this season. We did see you saying that you would burn the whole house down.
Absolutely. Stop playing with me.
The trailer. What can people expect, and what are you excited for people to see this season on Love and Marriage Detroit?
One thing I want to say about season 2 of Love and Marriage Detroit is my guy Carlos King. We call him Los, straight from Detroit. He from the East Side. The brother is the king of reality. He know what he's doing.
He does.
Trust. That's why I don't trip about the stories, because he know how to build these storylines and he know how to make stars. So the brother know what he's doing. Get behind him and support him. He done brought you a whole lot of hits.
Yeah.
To our cast, regardless on how you feel today, I love y'all, and we have a job to do. Period. We have a job to do. Show your life, let God shine, and then the thing is, we all are believers. We all are believers, and we just got to walk out our stories. So I'm just excited about opening doors for the city of Detroit, because I believe there's more shows coming to Detroit. I believe there's more things coming to just our community and our culture. So let's all support each other and just keep building as a people. That's how I feel.
Well, let people know when they can tune in to Love and Marriage Detroit.
You know, it's on 8 o'clock on Saturdays. Ain't nowhere else to be.
Thank you so much. We definitely look forward to you coming back and bringing Latoya with us, with you, so that we can get into it later on this season. But again, I'm so proud of you. So happy for you guys, and look forward to continuing to see you all share this message and just continue to uplift our community through the show that that God has blessed you guys with. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you so much. Tell your daughter I said hey too, and God bless.
I will. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with me. This has been Culture Conversations with Christal right here on Lennox and Parker. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. It's great to hear men speak about accountability, about Black love. So it's not just us women that want to see Black love. There's men as well, and really understanding that favor comes from the Black family being united. And I think that with more positive messages like that, we can definitely do that. You guys know I'm all about it. This has been Christal with another edition of Culture Conversations with Christal here on Lennox and Parker, and I'll see you guys next time.